What's up? Welcome in, Hoge Jahns, back with you. Bears Minicamp week, and we're making this a two-parter this week. Part one of our Minicamp coverage on this podcast, and we'll get back together Thursday night after Minicamp wraps up for the rest of it. But as we record this on Wednesday morning, one practice in the books, and we got observations, we got thoughts. We're going to go through a rundown of 10 Bears players that maybe we should be talking about a little bit more on this episode. Johnsy, what's going on?
I like being outside yesterday. It was windy. It was warm. It felt kind of like training camp. Not looking forward to being inside the Walter Payton Center later today. I'm feeling like that's going to happen. It's been rainy all day here in Chicago. Heavy rains last night. So I don't like practices inside. It's football. Should be outside.
Yeah, what was your favorite part of summer?
Well, hopefully when it comes back in a week.
And like 2 nice nights outside, and then woke up, it's 58 degrees and pouring rain this morning. Great. That's
the best part about the wind, like it was windy in Chicago, but it keeps the bugs away. It keeps the mosquitoes away.
That's true.
Underrated fact about the wind.
But just wait till we get all this rain, and then it gets hot again, and then
they
mosquito central. Well, you know what? We'll see. And it wouldn't. I'm up here pretty close to where the Bears are practicing, and it hasn't really been raining in the last hour or so. And it wouldn't shock me if Ben Johnson would rather get more done outside if they can get that field dry enough.
He did that last week. I was surprised they were outside after all the morning rain. And now the field got beat up a little bit, but hey, you spent a lot of money on it. Might as well use it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm with you. I want to be outside, and I know the coaches feel the same way. They just have more space, more field to work with. So we'll see. But welcome in. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns, wherever the Bears practice. We will keep you updated on Twitter, Instagram. You can follow us at HoganJahns.com. Our show accounts are there. All of our merch available at HoganJahns.com. And we actually have both quarter zips representing today. That was not planned. Johnsy with the navy blue. I got the white. Both available as always at HoganJahns.com. Go check them out. Apparently we're going to need them a little bit longer into June. All right, so we got a list of 10 players. This list is, I would say, mostly based on just some of the things we've seen at practice. What have we seen? 3 practices.
We've seen
now?
3 practices, but we've heard a lot from Ben Johnson, and some players have been hurt. So yes, some observations coming your way.
Yeah, the order. Don't look too much in the order. I'm literally going down the roster in their number of orders. By the way, can we get the roster figured out? Like, I'm watching practice yesterday. I'm like, who's 23 on defense, not listed? 48 on offense, not listed?
Patrick Scales?
No.
Kyle Fuller?
I'm just confused. I'm trying to get some laminated rosters done here.
I don't know why you. I respect, the willingness and I'm gonna call it ambition for you to do that, because you give me one and I'm thankful for it, but within 2 days all that lamination is just it's of no good use. It's done. The roster's changed. Guys have come and gone.
That's true.
But I appreciate you.
Yeah, but I'm able to update it and get another one. I'm just not gonna get 10 of them done for everybody else. You get one laminated roster. That's your quota.
Okay. Well, now I want 2.
Joniak might get a second one. Although I'm pretty sure he gets one from secret sources inside the building already.
The in-house. He's got an office there. So he should. We just have cubicles.
Yeah. We're lucky if we're invited in there. But all right. Starting off here. Kind of a bigger name. Most of this list is not necessarily starters even. There's a couple on here. But I think all of them were just the point of this is we're intrigued. Like these are guys that maybe we're going to be talking about a little bit more come October, November than maybe we thought. This first one's a little bit more obvious though, and he talked yesterday at Hallis Hall, and that is number 4, DeAndre Swift.
I wanted him on this list because, well, number one, I like something that he said yesterday in his response to a question about there are all these rumblings about the Bears drafting a running back. They obviously didn't until the 7th round. But his response to it, where he has in his answer, be undeniable. I like that. It's a good mindset to take in a year, which could be, if I'm him, this is an amazing opportunity. You've seen what running backs have done in Ben Johnson's offense. You were in Ben Johnson's offense not too long ago. So for you, DeAndre Swift, at this point in your career, this is your chance to be a star. This is your chance to put up Pro Bowl numbers. This is your chance to never leave the field. You're the Bears' best running back. You're the Bears' top back. This is an important season for him, and I think we're starting to see that come not to fruition, but like you're seeing signs of what he can be or what Ben Johnson wants to do with him through 3 practices at Hallis Hall.
Yeah, and look, the reality is like they flirted with other options. Obviously, we know this. The interest in Ashton Jeanty was real, just not necessarily realistic. Trading up in the second.
Yeah, Travion Henderson was an option.
Trading up in the second round was definitely something that was being explored. And then just the way the board fell, they ended up not drafting anybody till Kyle Monangai in the 7th round. So as soon as that happens, you turn your attention back to what you have. And this is what the Bears have. DeAndre Swift, who, for whatever his weaknesses might be, is not a bad player. Guy's been in the league for a while now. He's had success. And we saw him have success last year. We saw him have some really clutch, big runs at times. So I think it's now on him a lot to have a better year, but also he's in a better position because not only does he have Ben Johnson's offense here, he has familiarity with Ben Johnson. You know, whether they 1000% click last time or not, they're here together. They can learn from those experiences and get better. And then also Eric Bieniemy being here, I think will be good for him. So this might be more on the obvious side in terms of names that we're going to talk about here, but still very, very important name. And I feel like it's good that he's on this list because we were talking so much about Caleb and the receivers and all this stuff. It's like Ben Johnson's offense needs a good running game. And right now he is the running game.
He's only 26 years old too. I know running back years are a bit different, but he joined the league as a young player at 21. So his last year with Ben Johnson, this is 2022. This is Ben Johnson's first year as offensive coordinator. Swift was more of a number 2 back. Jamal Williams was their number 1 back. He had 1,066 rushing yards with 17 rushing touchdowns. Swift, he totaled 931 yards from scrimmage with 8 total touchdowns. So a better receiving threat than Jamal Williams. He doesn't quite run like a David Montgomery or Jamal Williams. I think we talked about this a little bit just in terms of his ability to break tackles. But you have to feel like there's something more there. Maybe Ben Johnson could tap into it. Maybe with him being the lead back and taking this on himself, he finds a way. But we'll be watching, especially when the pads come on. We'll be watching him in training camp, especially those joint practices. We'll be watching what DeAndre Swift does.
All right, number 2 on this list, wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus. And I wanted him on this list. So, first of all, when the Bears made this signing, I liked it a lot. I was like, this guy is, to me, one of the more underrated slot guys in the league. Had a really good year last year. And then they drafted Luther Burden, sort of unexpectedly. And I was like, okay, well, now there goes that. Like, Burden's going to play a lot. He's too talented. But we have yet to see Luther Burden participate in a team practice. We've only seen him at rookie minicamp. He has not been out there in OTAs. So, meanwhile, other guys, and this includes Devin Duvernay, have gotten opportunities. And every time I look up, it seems like 4 teams catching the ball. That's Zaccheaus. And he had a nice catch yesterday from Caleb Williams over the middle, sort of a risky throw, but a really good throw, right on his hands, catch and run, which is something that Zaccheaus has. So, look, it's super early right now. I don't necessarily, I've said this a few times, I don't necessarily love the early vibes with the Luther Burden situation. Just
We haven't seen him.
It's just hard to get too excited about it. Went through this with Karan Amagaji last year. Now it's not as serious of an injury, but it's, until you see it, there's other guys out there. And so it's a great opportunity for Olamide Zaccheaus. And I guess my point of this whole thing is he looks very, very capable of being a significant part of this offense, which is really good news, because it means that if Luther Burden, all this talk about details, all these things that Ben Johnson's obsessed about, you're not out there to practice all this, and you're a rookie. So if he is slow to get up to speed as a result of this injury he's dealing with, I just think it's really important to talk about Olamide Zaccheaus, because I feel good about that depth that they have right now.
Well, and part of that depth is Duvernay, who is wearing number 12. I'm not going to say the media member's name, but there was a point in practice where number 12, Duvernay, was making a couple catches. And the joke was, wow, it's kind of weird to see number 12 making catches like that, or being able to catch.
Yeah.
So with Zaccheaus and Duvernay, I think the Bears have improved depth. And we know how important. What?
You should have to name names.
No, I'm a nice guy. I do like the depth. I do like that the Bears seem to be experimenting with who's in the slot. We know that's an important role. It's the St. Brown role from Detroit. DJ Moore was playing there for a little bit. I think you'll see opportunities where you can create mismatches with DJ Moore like that. I just like seeing the experimentation. It's kind of cool to see Ben Johnson, the offensive mastermind, as everybody knows him to be, kind of experiment with his combinations, his personnel groupings and whatnot.
Yeah. To me, Zaccheaus is a name, and look, he's small. He's 5'8", 194, been in the league now for 4 years. Just feels like he's going to have some big catches this year at some point in the right moments, where maybe at the end of the year he doesn't have massive numbers, but he's going to have, some clutch catches. That first down percentage will be high. So definitely a name we should be talking about. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball now. Nahshon Wright, who came over from the Minnesota Vikings this offseason, kind of later, if I remember right. Because he was released by the Vikings actually on April 7th. And then the Bears got him the next day. The couple things here. One is Nahshon Wright was with Al Harris in Dallas. He was a former 3rd-round pick. Didn't really catch on there. Ends up in Minnesota for 1 year last year. And so that, I think that's a huge reason why the Bears pounced on him when he became available. He's got that Al Harris body type.
6'4".
If you remember that was the conversation with Zay Frazier, who they drafted, right? Like, you kind of see Al Harris can see himself in that player, the body type. So we're talking, 6'4" player here. And most importantly, why we're bringing him up now, he's been making a lot of plays, and he's been playing a lot too.
Yeah, I wanted him on this list because yesterday made an interception on Caleb Williams, tip ball over the middle, interception by Nahshon Wright. And he was playing in place of Jalen Johnson. Now, Jalen Johnson was at practice, didn't participate in the team drills. Maybe that changes today or Thursday, but we know Jalen Johnson's the Bears' best cornerback, one of the best players on the team. But to see him on the field with the starters, I'm talking about right, it's noteworthy. He's proving himself to be one of the top backups. And if he continues to make plays like he did on Caleb Williams, I think that secures him a roster spot, secures him a place in this defense. So he has to be on our list right now.
Yeah. I'm trying to see where I had him on my roster tier or pyramid. Yeah, kind of more down the list than the 90-man roster fillers, but under category of having physical traits that you might still, bet on this type of year. So I don't think Nahshon Wright's like a lock to make this team by any means. There's quite a bit of players in front of him. Don't forget about Terrell Smith. Maybe he's somebody who should be on this list too. And ideally, if there's no injuries, I mean, your starters are set in Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson. But this is a premium position. And if you could be out there making plays, then, it's somebody who could make this team and end up being a key piece if there are injuries and you need your depth guys to start. So just an interesting name for Bears fans to be aware of. All right, these next two will kind of double up on because they both play the same position, and they both play the linebacker. Noah Sewell and Ruben Hippolyte.
Okay, they're on this list because we're seeing a lot of them. If the Bears are in their base defense, Noah Sewell is your starting strong side linebacker. But with TJ Edwards dealing with a soft tissue injury, Ruben Hippolyte, the rookie, is your weak side linebacker. But we've also seen him play on the strong side when TJ's in. So there's a competition going on at strong side linebacker, and these are your top two candidates. There was a point in practice yesterday where I think Noah Sewell slipped and he left practice, but he returned. So for a player who has battled injuries, who has really never been healthy, who has not been a factor since being drafted a couple of years ago, but has all these athletic traits, to see him on the field and playing well, moving well, it's encouraging. So it was encouraging to see him return after leaving briefly at practice yesterday, given his history. So these are the two players competing for that starting spot in the strong side.
Yeah, look, what ends up mattering a lot in these situations is when guys were acquired. So we know because Ruben Hippolyte was drafted in the 4th round. We've seen the draft room reactions when he was drafted, on 1920 Football Drive and all that. Dennis Allen really likes his speed. The Bears really like him as a prospect. That's always going to give that guy sort of an edge compared to the dude that was drafted by the previous coaching staff in a different scheme. Without a doubt. That being said, and I would have and I still probably have him on the list of players who I think are on the bubble. But what we've seen from Noah Sewell so far, and I'll, shout out to Mark Carmen, who pointed this out, I think a couple of weeks ago after our first practice that we saw with our own eyes. That was inside the Walter Payton Center, and we had pretty close of view. And he was like, Noah Sewell looks like he is just like jacked up and in better shape. Like he just looks like he's ready to go.
I would agree.
Yeah, and I agree. Like I think the speed's been there. So good to have Noah Sewell on this list because it's just somebody we shouldn't just assume is going to be ushered out the door here because it's year 3 and everybody just. But him and Roschon Johnson, part of the same draft class, they're kind of in very similar situations here where they haven't quite done what they were brought here to do, but you can still see the traits. You can still see the reasons why they're here, and you don't want to give up on them yet.
There have been multiple times during these 3 practices where, there's 47. There's 47 again. And I don't know if it's just 47 speed. Number 47 is Ruben Hippolyte. Yeah. I don't know if it's just his speed that's catching my eye, my attention, but he seems to be around the ball quite a bit, especially like when they're sending these linebackers after the quarterbacks, part of the Dennis Allen game plan scheme and whatnot. So just something to think about. 47 seems to, when I'm writing down 47, I imagine the film has a lot of 47, plus plays on it at this point.
And you know what I got to say about him? Both Ruben Hippolyte and Ozzie Trapillo, they don't carry themselves like rookies. We had Ruben on CHGO, and it was like you were already talking to a guy who's been in the league for a few years. Very professional already. Seems to have things off the football field very in order, priorities straight in life, ready to come to work. So on top of the speed, I don't know. I just talked about the vibes with Luther Burden. The vibes with Ruben Hippolyte have been really, really good for a guy that admittedly, when he was drafted, we were all kind of scrambling in the media room being like, who?
Some of us were.
Well, he still wasn't. He was still one of the rare guys who didn't even have a profile written in the Beast.
True.
All right. Let's go down the list a little bit more here. We got another starter, but a guy we haven't really talked about since they signed him. An incredibly important position. Drew Dahlman. We need to be talking about this guy more. We need to not stop talking about him.
I like that we're not talking about bad snaps.
Right.
We've covered a lot of practices at this time of year where we're talking about bad snaps. And that usually means more bad snaps are going to happen come training camp, and then there will be a couple in the regular season. It's nice not to talk about that. The Bears actually have a true center. He's smaller than I thought he'd be. Maybe it's because Tooney's big and Jonah Jackson looks enormous out there, just in terms of his stature. But that offensive line seems to be coming together. Ben Johnson doesn't want to get too far ahead of himself, but I think we're all seeing what we're seeing here. There's one spot open. It's on the left side. The rest of the spots are kind of solidified, especially in the middle there with Tooney, Dahlman, and Jonah Jackson. So it's nice to have some good things to say or not say anything at all about the center position. Drew Dahlman seems to be fitting in fine.
Well, and you had an observation from the press conference yesterday, too, I think, just that you wanted to bring up in terms of maybe the difference in which Ozzie was talked about compared to Karan Amagaji.
I almost want to read it. So start talking for a little bit. While
sure. Yeah, I mean, well, I'll say this. Ozzie's not on this list. Neither is Karan, because we've been talking about the left tackle battle a lot. But I did just bring up how Ozzie Trapillo carries himself more like a veteran, and they've already detailed very well. And you could hear just talking to him that his football intelligence is very, very high. So if he can physically hold up at that position at left tackle, I just think it's worth pointing out that the Bears could potentially have an insanely football smart left side of their line between Trapillo, Joe Tooney, and Drew Dahlman. Because Dahlman also, a huge reason why Dahlman was brought here. He's a little undersized. He's probably not the most physically imposing center of all time. But he went to Stanford. His football intelligence is really high. And, just snapping the ball is the minimum. They really feel like he's going to help Caleb Williams a ton just from his ability to see what's going on in front. But when it's not just your center, it's also Joe Tooney, because he's going to see all that stuff too. And then you have a rookie. Yes, he's a rookie, but they're already touting his football intelligence. That left side of the Bears line could be, if it works out that way, if that's what it ends up being, it could. And by the way, if it's Karan, he went to Yale too.
So with football intelligence, what I hear and what I see, and this goes back to what they said about Drew Dahlman when he was signed. May not be the biggest player, as you just said, but wins with leverage, wins with positioning, wins with his smarts, his ability to ID things before they happen. That is so valuable it's like immeasurable in many ways. That's why Drew Dahlman was so coveted on the open market. and why it's nice not to have a storyline of a guard moving the center, which we've covered before. Let me read you what Ben Johnson said about Ozzie, by the way. This is Ben Johnson yesterday at Hallis Hall. The cool thing to see is Ozzie. For a guy that's a young player, he's really polished in terms of the mental aspect of the game. We're looking to key up some things, quicken up his steps, his identification process. And Karan's done a nice job just for the little bit that we've had him as well. Just the growth prospects. So far, so good. Like, that felt like a lot of praise for a rookie while trying to support one player in the competition. Did that feel different to you?
No, 100% it did. Yeah, it's I'm praising the one guy in the competition. Oh crap, I need to throw in the other guy at the end too.
Now, if asked specifically about Karan Amagaji, I'm sure Ben Johnson would have a lot of good things to say. But it's just very, like, when you evaluate these things and you analyze these things, Ozzie, Giant Johns was drafted in the second round this year with Ben Johnson as part of the evaluation process.
Right. It's the same thing we just talked about with the linebackers. It mattered. Yes, the GMs was the same in both drafts. The scouting staff, for the most part, was the same. But the coaching staff, who's ultimately the ones that make these decisions on playing time, they were here with Ozzie being drafted. They were not here with Karan, and they don't have any tape to go off from last year. Well, they have a little bit of tape, and it's all not that good. But it's not even really fair to use anything from last season for Karan Amagaji. So that doesn't mean that he doesn't have a chance. He literally does have a chance. He was taking reps with the ones yesterday, not Ozzie. So and let's not forget about Braxton Jones either. Whenever he comes back, because he's still going to get his chance to keep his job too.
I believe this was about Drew Dahlman, this part of the conversation. So far, so good.
So far, so good. Yeah.
Sorry,
I agree.
The offensive line talk it does feel different. And I know we say that a lot, but the investments seem like better. I'll just put it that way. It's with Joe Tooney out there, Drew Dahlman out there, Jonah Jackson out there, and yes, we're not even talking about Darnell, right? Like, you could see the investment, whether it's trading for guys, whether it's signing guys, and drafting guys. You could see the offensive line investment for once, and you're seeing what it can mean for Ben Johnson's play calls and Caleb Williams. I'm excited to see what pads on.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the other part is we haven't even seen the pads yet. All right, 4 more players here to talk about. 2 on offense, 2 on defense. Another offensive lineman here, Ryan Bates.
Where art thou, Ryan Bates?
That's the thing. He's still on the roster. He's still here. He theoretically should be in probably a better spot, being a backup. You would think Ryan Bates would be a pretty solid backup. He hasn't been practicing. We don't know why. The shoulder from last year, I mean, we don't really know, but it seems like something potentially could still be an issue. At least as a question mark going forward. And so now he's not practicing. It just, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that, but it's another guy who you don't want to forget about that theoretically could be a key depth piece this year, but I don't know, more question marks now.
He's on this list because of everything that's transpired really before now. He's a player the Bears tried to trade for when Ryan Poles first took over, or tried to sign, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Bills matched it, if I'm remembering that correctly. But he's a player that the Bears coveted, a player that the Bears ID'd as a possible center option. And it just hasn't played out that way for whatever reason. They eventually obtain him. He's injured. He has a concussion. You mentioned a shoulder injury. Then he has his concussions. Now I want to say He just might be on the bubble. We haven't seen him play. Does it need to be discussed more than this? I don't know, but if he's not on the field at the start of training camp, I mean, that bubble's going to pop. This is when I don't think we're looking at this too much because this has just been an important addition, or he was viewed as an important addition by Ryan Poles not too long ago. And now he seems to be, well, like I said, on the bubble. But that's what happens. If you're not playing, if you're not on the field, this is how careers change.
Yeah, because there's other guys. I mean, look, they drafted Luke Newman, who they seem to like a lot. And if he comes on quickly,
he's bigger than I thought he would be. Like he's stronger. Like he looks like almost like Cody Whitehair out there a little bit, just in terms of his physical makeup. Maybe with bigger legs.
And he tested really well too, coming out. That's part of the reason why the Bears got him. Bill Murray still around too. And then Chris, is it Glasser? I don't know.
And here's the thing,
but he's been getting some reps too.
Once this left tackle battle intensifies, say it comes down to Braxton Jones and Nazi Chapillo, how many looks does Karan Amagaji get inside at guard? What does that mean for Ryan Bates? What does that mean for Luke Newman? There's a ripple effect that's kind of waiting to happen once Braxton Jones returns.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Ryan Bates is certainly somebody we're going to have to keep talking about here, and once we get to training camp, see how healthy he is and the reps he gets. All right, let's go to the tight end position. Durham Smythe signed this offseason, history with Ben Johnson, and then the Bears went out and drafted Colson Loveland. So it's kind of similar to the Olamide Zaccheaus signing, where you're like, oh, this guy's going to be a key piece, and then they draft somebody else. But here we are in OTAs, and we're seeing these guys out there a lot.
Yeah, we're not seeing Colson Loveland, who we know is returning from his shoulder surgery. Durham Smythe has a place on this team. He is safely the Bears' number 3 tight end. But to your same point about Luther Burden, if Colson Loveland needs time, and we know tight end can be a difficult position to learn at the NFL level, if Loveland needs time, it seems like the Bears have their temporary number 2 in Durham Smythe. I'm not saying they're same caliber player. They're just not. But that allows Cole Kmet to do a little bit more before Colson Loveland gets ready as well.
Yeah, Durham Smythe, he's just kind of a solid player. He's been in the league now 8 years out of Notre Dame. He's never had a ton of catches, but it still seems like the type of guy that you can rely on to operate within your offense and catch the ball when he needs to. So, yeah, just don't forget about him, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying not to be too.
Yeah, but like when you're coming up with your roster and you're making your cuts and you're looking at your 53,
yeah,
Durham Smythe belongs in your 53. That's what we're saying.
Oh yeah, he's not going anywhere. They don't have enough tight ends at this point that would overtake him, in my opinion. And Colson Loveland's a question mark too, because here's the thing: like, I don't want to make too big of a deal out of this, but every single day we keep hearing every player and coach talk about the details, and your top 2 draft picks aren't practicing. Like, at minimum, that delays the time in training camp to get up to speed. I just think there's going to be some growing pains here with Colson Loveland and Luther Burden. So you need a guy like Durham
fine.
Smythe.
This is not some big negative. This is them being rookies who are missing time.
Right. I think it's just reality that we can't ignore.
You tweak your expectations a little bit. Maybe things click fast for them. Maybe Ben Johnson's able to find a role for them on day 1. I wouldn't be surprised if he does, but I know what you're saying. Quickly before we move on, what did you make of Cole Kmet's response to your question about him getting yelled at inside the Walter Payton Center 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I thought I liked hearing the reasoning for why he was getting yelled at. It, not just in terms of like what he did wrong, which we knew he lined up wrong, but it was super interesting to hear Cole be like, the reason I got yelled at was because I was actually cheating myself from getting the football, which Ben Johnson was trying to get me the ball. And so it was like a simple, quick route into the flat, but it's quick. And so if you're lined up inside here when you need to be farther outside to where the catch point will be, where the throw's going to that side of the field, that's why those details matter. So I like the explanation for not just what it was about, but why it mattered so much.
I know everyone has like talked at length about what Cole was great just talking about the obsession of Ben Johnson and his details. Like he just can't let it go. You feel that from him, whether it's on the field, in the meeting room. He brings that with him wherever he's at. And like we've covered a lot of different coaches, but I can't remember talking this much about any coaching staff getting on their players this much this early. I can't. I went back and looked at my previous notes, old stories. Did it happen with Eberflus? Didn't happen with Nagy. Definitely didn't happen with Tressman.
Well, and here's the other part of that too that probably matters more, Johns. Even if there are other examples, it's how it's being received and whether or not it sticks. And I think right now, from what we're seeing, is I think we're seeing a lot of indication this isn't going to change. That's the big key. But two, there also seems to be a unanimous approval of this type of coaching, which means there's credibility behind the attention to the detail and the amount of yelling that's going on, or, do this right. There's not a lot of rolling of the eyes. Look at DJ Moore yesterday. DJ Moore said, yeah, I got called out for my body language once. We nipped it in the bud. I said it wouldn't happen again, and we move on. Now we'll see, but that's what he said. So I just think I think the fact there's a little bit more credibility behind this is probably what matters most.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is how he coached in Detroit. And it worked.
All right, let's close out with two defensive linemen. Dominique Robinson.
I put them on the list. I put him on this list, or these next two players on the list. But I wanted Robinson on this list because he was playing with the starters yesterday. Odangbo wasn't playing in team drills. So let's start with that. Okay. So you had Montez Sweat. You had Grady Jarrett. You had Javon Dexter. And then you had Dominique Robinson. My first thought was like, wow, like this is surprising. But then I thought a little bit more about it. His physical makeup might be perfect for what Dennis Allen wants at defensive end. Just in terms of the arms, the length, the body type. This could be good for Dominique Robinson, a player that I had already written off. I'll be honest. With all the Bears' moves this offseason, I'm like, well, I don't know if he has a spot. But to see him playing in place of Odangbo with the starters felt important for his potential place in Dennis Allen's defense.
Yeah, I think that I'm still skeptical, but in terms of body type, there's no question that he fits that. And
he is currently listed at 6'5", 253. So Odangbo has about 30 pounds on him, but just in terms of the stature, seems like he could fit. Seems like he could be a backup option for Dennis Allen.
Right. but he is heavier than Austin Booker too, which was what I was going to get at here. I think, look, the only knowns we have here at defensive end are Montez Sweat and Dio Odengbo. Beyond that, Austin Booker, he still needs to take a pretty big step forward. Daniel Hardy has been playing linebacker, then Dominique Robinson. And then you have a bunch of guys like Xavier Carlton and Jeremy Robinson. Like, these are rookies. So the point of that is the path to sticking on the team isn't that far off. Now, we do wonder, does Shamar Turner kick outside in this defense? We've heard that from the defensive coaching staff, that guys got to be interchangeable and move around. So there's certainly the possibility of that. But I'm with you. I think I like that he's on this list, because we shouldn't just write him off. We should still be talking about Dominique Robinson. He's got a chance with Dennis Allen being the guy that they hired.
Yeah. We still,
all right, and then
to
finally,
your point though, we still haven't seen Turner bump outside yet. At least
right.
I haven't.
Yeah, I don't think I have either. Gervon Dexter.
Does he look bigger to you?
Well, he's always been big. Big Dex.
Dino Dex. Dino Dex is done.
Was that a Flus name?
That was a Flus thing.
Yeah, we got to get rid of all that. Mako Shark and
Spider-Man is not going anywhere, though. That one very much is stuck.
Fair enough. I don't know if he looks bigger, but he looks good. He looks comfortable. He looks.
Now he's that's
yeah.
What I mean, like, he looks muscular.
Well, I just think he's, and I know that not everybody agrees with me on this one, but I think he's better suited in more of that one technique role, and we've been seeing him there a lot, because Billings hasn't been out there the entire time, and seeing him with Grady Jarrett instead of pushed behind Grady Jarrett. I just think when you look at what his strengths and weaknesses are, I think it's a good spot for him. I think there's a good chance that it could work out. And whatever the differences are in techniques or the fundamentals of what they're trying to execute on each play in this scheme, scheme's everything for these guys sometimes. And I think this could be a better match for Gervon Dexter.
Yeah, scheme and fit. Same thing applies to Dominique Robinson, apparently. So this is Dennis Allen's doing. This is what he wants. This is his vision. And maybe Dexter just looks bigger for me because he's got like 5 or 6 inches. Grady Jarrett. But it is like you start listing things to take note of, to take stock of as you prepare for training camp. Dexter seems to be doing quite well. Again, let's see him with the pads on, but the defensive line seems to be, as much as the offensive line is coming together, there's a lot of flashes and a lot of glimpses of some pressure from this defensive line as well.
It is interesting because Grady Jarrett is 6 foot 290. Gervon Dexter is 6'6", 312. And I gotta say, Grady Jarrett wearing number 50.
Yeah, we talked
compared to Gervon Dexter wearing 99, I think adds another inch.
Yeah, it throws you
the
off.
Difference. Like, it's just,
I'm never gonna get used to it. I'm not.
No, I think 50 makes Grady Jarrett look even smaller.
Yeah,
it makes him look like he's a linebacker.
Yeah, like he should be, off the ball with his hand, like at his side as opposed to in the dirt. I wonder. We know Luther Burden's going to change his number once cuts happen. I wonder if Grady Jarrett changes his number once certain numbers in the 90s open up after some moves down the road.
But Grady Jarrett should have been able to pick whatever number he wanted when he got
True,
here.
But maybe he's just a nice guy. Maybe that's how he wants to lead with. I mean, he's the oldest guy in that defensive line room. Maybe that's just how he wants to handle it.
Okay. All right, well, there's your list of 10 players.
I mean, you got 91, 92, 93, and 96 as potential openings in the 90s. once some roster cuts are made. Sorry, I wasn't listening to what you said. I was looking at the numbers.
No, it's all right.
It's our list.
And he wore 97 in Atlanta, which is like the one. Billings wears number 97.
Yeah, I mean, out of respect, they're not going to take it from Billings.
Like probably the two guys you're not going to take the number from in the 90s would be Montez Sweat and Andrew Billings. Like even Gervon Dexter, if you're like, I want to wear number 99. Which some Bears fans should argue nobody should be wearing number 99. But that brings us back to how you retired too many damn numbers.
That was the last podcast.
Yeah. It's never going to end. All right. Well, that was fun. We will hopefully stay dry at practice today. Tomorrow's looking a lot nicer. Probably the nicest of the 3 days. Because I don't think there's going to be much wind tomorrow either. But it's good to have 3 days in a row to go out, and see this team. It's always kind of a good just landmark in the off season before we head into the dead period. So this is part 1 of our Bears minicamp coverage, and we'll be back with part 2. We're recording it Thursday night, so we'll probably drop it late Thursday night, but it'll be ready for you Friday morning for sure once minicamp is all wrapped up. So in the meantime, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns. The show account is at Hoge Jahns, and the merch is all available at HogeJahns.com. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll keep you covered on all those social platforms during day 2 and day 3 of minicamp, and we'll be back to wrap it all up in part 2 when minicamp is over. We'll talk to you then.
See ya.